Hello and welcome back to the Tech Zone. I am Paul Amadeus Lane. Thank you so much for staying tuned with us. And I will tell you this, it's been an amazing ride. We'd like to welcome back our listeners who are listening here in the U.S. and also internationally. Thank you guys so much for watching the Tech Zone, listening to the Tech Zone, podcasting the Tech Zone, you name it. I am greatly honored. When we meet people in our life, just in passing, sometimes they can leave an impression on us that just sticks to us because maybe it's something they say, maybe it's the way they greeted you. This happened to me a few years back when I was managing an NBC radio affiliate station. And it was a show on there talking about really empowerment. And one of the main hosts, it was a duel. One of the main hosts wasn't able to do the show anymore. So the other host would bring in guest hosts. And one time he brought in this one guest host. And I'm telling you, it just blew my mind just how articulate he was, how he used common sense when he was making a point. Wasn't yelling, wasn't bombastic. He was just chill. And I was able to find him on social media, started following him, following what he was doing. And this individual had such a great presence on social media, not just his presentation of his message, but just the message in general. And I was able to connect with him, and I asked him to be a part of the show because I wanted him to share his journey on what made him who he is today, how he's able to help people via technology. And for ones out there who think technology is bad, even though there's some elements of technology that we do want to stay away from. But after you hear this interview right here, you are definitely going to change your mind if you just think technology is just bad and not have any good elements of it. And I'm so honored to have him join me on the show. And joining me right now is one of the baddest men on the planet when it comes to personal freedom, empowering. I'm talking about my man, Preston Smiles. What's going on, Preston? How you doing?
Ooh, bloop, 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 bloop. What's going on, Paul?
See, that's what I'm talking about. I wanted to hear that, wanted to see that. My man, Preston, is in house. And Preston, I tell you, I told the story before I brought you on about my first interaction with you when I was working at a radio station and you were filling in on a host on another show. And it was interesting. I was getting ready to leave, and then I just heard this insightful, voice and just voice of reason. And I was like, who was that over there talking? And then I found you on Facebook. We became friends, and I've just been following you for years. And I just want to give you props in what you're doing. You are fantastic at it, Preston.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, man. And I actually think I remember that day. That was a while back too, man. Like,
yeah,
quite a while.
It was, and that's why I always tell people, you never know what's going to happen when you cross paths with people in your life. You may connect with them several years down the line, but people can make an impression on you that really stays in your mind. And you did, my friend. And what you and your wife are doing is so amazing. What I wanted to do was to talk about your journey and what made you become the Preston Smiles that we all know and love today.
Yeah, man. I'm, as much as I look like a young whippersnapper, I'm actually, I'll be 37 in a month. So I'm a grown ass man, and I've lived many lifetimes in this lifetime. So I'll give you the cliff notes. When I think they said I was 3 or 4 when they started testing me, because my mother and father, my mother mainly, thought that there may be something off. And then when I was 8 years old, they took me out of the normal classes and placed me in special education classes. And I made up a story about myself, that I was dumb, that I was stupid, that I was less than, because, while I was and didn't learn like all the other kids, walking into a classroom where the kids were playing with blocks and drooling on themselves at 8 and 9 years old, it had a big impression on me. And so I began to seek approval and security outside of myself. And I started wearing a mask in order to get people to like me. So I would bully the bullies. I would befriend the nerds. I was really good at sports because my dad would celebrate me when I was good at sports. And that led me to joining a gang when I was 11 years old. When I was 15 years old, a friend of mine, best friend, asked me to come out and hang and drink and be stupid 15-year-olds like we had been all the other nights. And this particular night was the first time that it was a no for me. It was the first time I understood intuition. And I said no. And, they made fun of me for a little bit. And then they hung up the phone. And he was like, oh, well, I got shotgun then since you're not coming. And shotgun, for those of you guys who aren't familiar with that, means I got the front seat. And so Scott got the front seat. And an hour later, after they hung up the phone with me, they pulled up to a 7-Eleven in Gardena, California. And a disgruntled guy was in the car next to them. And he asked Scott what he was looking at. And Scott, being a 16-year-old punk, was like, I'm looking at you. And the guy got out with an automatic weapon and shot him in the head. And shot everybody in the van that I was in the night before and the night before and the night before. And so this was a huge awakening for me because I got really scared. Everything got real. When you're 15, you think you're invincible. And then something like that happens. And I asked my father, could I leave? And he said, where do you want to go? I said, I don't care. I just can't be in this city right now. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but I kind of lived that. Because I got on a plane to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I got off the plane. There was a sign with my name on it. There was a woman named Shirley Russell. She's still my mom to this day. She was sitting next to my mom at my wedding last year. Shirley took me in. She was my dad's high school sweetheart. And she lived in North Allegheny County, which was this really sort of wealthy county in the suburbs of Pittsburgh. And I remember I got there on the first day of school. We pulled up and there was BMWs and Mercedes everywhere. They had turf football fields and you could eat off the ground. And I got there and I was like, this is interesting. And everybody was staring at me, but not just staring, but smiling and staring. And I'm like, what is happening? So I go into the office and I'm checking in and I asked the woman, I said, ma'am, are there anybody else who looks like me at this school? She said, oh no, we have one black girl. But I believe you're the only black male in the school. And so what I came to find out was that I was the only black dude in the whole school. And I was this cool alien that everybody wanted to hang out with. And that created this awakening. And I'm wrapping the story up here, where one day, a few weeks later, I had joined a new gang called Wexford Mafia. And it was a bunch of rich white kids. And I was in this kid, Brad's BMW, and we were riding to a party. And they were smoking weed, drinking, listening to Outkast, Tupac, and Biggie. And I had this realization in the backseat of this kid's car that we're all doing the same things, but getting two different results based on the environment and the expectation. So the kids at my former school were smoking weed, drinking, listening to Outkast, Tupac, and Biggie. And the kids at my new school were doing the same thing. Well, the kids at the new school were going to Yale, and the kids at my old school were going to jail. And so I recognized and stumbled upon environmental psychology at 15 and a half. And I got to understand that underneath all of our stories, whether it be gay, straight, white, black, Christian, Muslim, underneath all of that is our truth, which is love. And that opened up a whole new space for me in understanding that you cannot rise to low expectations. So that was the beginnings of my story.
That's an amazing story, my friend. Because I grew up in the Long Beach, Compton area, and as you're telling that story, it kind of reminds me of some of the things that I went through too, and I can definitely relate because there was a lot of my friends that I grew up with who was about that life who didn't make it out, and who are in the grave or in the jail right now, and it's just, and you're right, you come to a realization. And you're like, okay, what am I going to do? What am I going to do in my life? What's my calling? And when did you know, Preston, that you could be that kind of beacon of hope, beacon of love for ones out there who may not know that they're loved and that they're wanted? When did you know that you had that calling?
Yeah, the thing with purpose and calling. So it happens in layers, right? You know, a lot of people come to me, even I have lots of people who come to me every day, and they say, I want to find my one purpose and my one calling. And I remind them that that purpose and that calling will change and shift over time. So I was always a leader, Paul. I was always a leader. The question was where was I leading people to? I was always a powerful dude, right? And so when people come to me and they ask me and they say, I want to become this and I want to become that, I say, it's not a matter of becoming, it's a matter of revealing what's already here, right? The magic of Preston Smiles was already here. All I did was place intention and my attention on service, and the rest of it sort of came into play. Now, to answer your question on a technical note, when I was 25, I got sick and I had a heart condition and I didn't want to die. Nobody wants to die at 25, especially. And I went to a cardiologist and he gave me some medicine, but he said, as a doctor, there's two things you need to look into: your diet and your stress levels. And I explained to him my life and how some of my family members were on drugs and how I felt like it was my duty to make it and to help them and save them. And he said, young man, based on what you've told me, you are highly stressed out. And that stress is actually killing your body. It's like having an effect on your heart. And then I told him, he asked me what my diet was like. And I said, I eat food. And he was like, tell me about food. And I was like, you know, McDonald's, Burger King. I drink beer, sloppy joes, drink lots of milk. Like I just was naming all the stuff that all of us eat all the time, right? And he said, young man, that's not food. And I said, dude, what are you talking about? Of course it's food. It's on the commercials. It's what my mom eats. It's what my dad eats. It's what everybody I know eats. That's got to be food. What else is there if that's not food? And he said, you know, you might want to look into that. And so I went through this whole journey of being an angry vegan. I denounced my religion, and I just literally uprooted everything and questioned everything. And I began to fill my cup in such a way that people were coming to me and they would ask me all these questions. And there was a point when I said, everybody's asking the same questions. I should just start a YouTube channel called Questions with Preston and actually just talk about this stuff, because we're all dealing with the same stuff. No matter where we are in the world, the human experience is very similar. And so that was the beginnings of me creating Questions with Preston, and that sort of opened up, and it's continuing to open up my understanding of why I am on this planet, which is to serve people and remind them of their truth, which is love.
Absolutely. And Preston, as I hear your story even more, you know, I had my catastrophic event when I was 23, and I'm kind of like you, was faced with a life and death situation, and you're wondering, what's going to happen, what am I going to do, and and for ones out there who are around that age right now, there's going to come a time when you're going to have to make life and death decisions. And when that happens, you have to choose wisely. And that's what I like about your YouTube channel and about your social media presence and just about what you do out there is because, you talk about common sense and real talk. It's not about fluff. And it takes me back to something I was watching the other day about you when somebody made a derogatory comment about you. And I was angry for you. And the way you handle it, was amazing because, you said, I just want to love on you. I would hug you. You said, but don't get it twisted. If you try to come at me, I will whoop you. I was like, see, that's what I'm talking about. That's real talk right there. It's not fluff. It's like real talk. So I appreciate the way you handled that, Preston.
Yes. I'm still from LA, man. That part of me still comes up. I'm like, yo, I know that love is all there is. But I will also take you out if you get it twisted.
Absolutely, that's what I appreciated about you. And when you're out there putting yourself out there, Preston, what's one of your? Because I don't ever sense fear in you when I watch you, when I listen to you. I never sense fear in you. But what's kind of makes you kind of apprehensive about what? Is there anything out there that kind of makes you just like wonder? Okay, anything like that?
Yeah, you know what, man. I'd say one of my biggest growth edges right now is around the African-American experience and where and how to communicate that. Because, there's a thing that happens when you quote unquote wake up, right? So you wake up to the understanding that there's only one of us here, that we are all individual splinters of one consciousness, right? And so for me, this understanding that and I don't know if I can go here on this show, but that God is in everything and everyone, and that everything, no matter how we, may perceive it, is still a gift, right?
Absolutely.
So on one hand, I understand this, and I understand not just intellectually, but like in my body, I have the experience of there's only one here, right? Only one of us here. But on the other hand, I know that most of society still sees me as Black, as African, as African American, right? And I also, on another hand, am proud of that. It's so beautiful. We're such a gregarious, beautiful people that have been vilified and, treated in a very particular way for quite a long time. And so I'm always towing the line between, how to be with that. Because I also understand that me just being me is an awakening for many people who have, quote unquote, people of color boxed into this particular box of they're only this or they're only that, right? So me just being me being a representative of love is teaching people that we're all multifaceted people. We all come from the same source, if you may. And so that's a tricky thing for me. Everything else I'm not afraid of. And I'm not even afraid of that. It's just something I'm very careful how I navigate that. But yeah, man, to me, when you have something that you would die for, it creates space for you to truly live. And so as much as I don't want to die anytime soon, I would die for this. And so this bleeds out of me. This is not, when the camera's on,
right,
let me try to figure out how to make money off of people. This is like, I do this because I actually care, but truly. Because there wasn't a me when I was growing up. There was nobody I could look to that looked like me, that represented what I represent when I was growing up. So for me, this is my duty. It's a crime against humanity for me not to stand in my power in such a way that I become a beacon and a light for people all over the world to see who and what they are.
And
which is love.
And that's and that's where I look where technology is at today. If we didn't have the YouTubes, if we didn't have the Instagrams and the other platforms that we have, ones would know about you and your creative mind and the love that you have for your fellow man, but it wouldn't be as vast as it is today. Maybe like in one area because you live over there, but now worldwide, and you visit different places, you give different motivational speeches about things. Tell me how that has changed your life, being able to do that.
Dude, it's the biggest game changer in the world. As I explained, I don't have a standardized brain. So when I was taking standardized tests, I sucked at those. And so for someone like me who doesn't learn, first of all, I'm dyslexic. I didn't mention that in the beginning. So I don't even, if you were to read something, Paul, and I were to read something, it would take me 10 times as long to read one paragraph. Right. And so for people like me who have a unique set of genius that maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago was not necessarily celebrated, or you had to have all these gatekeepers in order to, and wear a suit and be white in order to actually be heard, having the internet has literally changed my life. My whole family initially wanted to talk me out of doing what I'm doing. Everybody I knew was like, you need to just keep being an actor and a performer because that's what you're good at. Everything else you kind of suck at, right? So everybody was pushing me towards this one thing. And I knew on my heart of hearts that this was my calling. But I also knew I wasn't ready yet. So I was doing this, on this here and then doing this on the side until I could phase them out. And the interesting thing about this whole process is literally I wouldn't be able to affect as much change without the internet. YouTube changed my life. The internet changed everything for everybody. It took all the gatekeepers away. It's the reason why television and movies are not doing that well in the actual theater, right? People don't even watch TV on TVs that much anymore. Like everything we do is from a smartphone or from a personalized computer. So, man, I am forever grateful for technology and for anybody who knows how to innovate technology and create more ways for me to reach people all over the planet. Because that's exactly what's happening. Every day I reach hundreds of thousands of people just by pulling up my phone. Like, that's a beautiful thing.
It is. And you know, I wanted to give you props too. I'm looking at your website right now. And, you know, when it comes to the About Me page, you know, and I've been guilty of this too about my website, you know, it's my time to shine. I'm going to tell you what I'm doing, isn't it? But I'm going to read what you put on your About Me. You said, I can list a bunch of things that would make me look important and successful. But what I want you to know about me is I truly care about people, our planet, and about maximizing my potential. I am committed to knowing that I will leave this world the world that my tank was empty because I gave all that I had and then some in the name of love. And when I read that one word came to my mind, humility. You know, because sometimes, you know, in this industry, you know, we always want to be like, look at me, look at what I'm doing this. I never get that with you, man. It's all about what can I do for you? And I think with all the social media influencers out there who kind of, and not really throwing shade on everybody, but sometimes it's all about them. But you have taken the step, no, it's all about the person, the individual. And I think that what makes you successful.
Thank you, man. I truly appreciate that. That is something, it is actually a really big deal for me. And I sometimes beat myself up because I don't toot my horn like everybody else does, you know? And, you know, it's not a race, you know? The tortoise wins anyway, but
that's true.
The race just restarts, you know, like life just lives. And so for me, you know, if I can experience my own personal freedom, if I'm being a conscious choice maker, if I'm here to serve, because my understanding is that you only get to keep what you give away. And so I'm constantly giving that which I would love to receive myself. And I receive, the giving is in the getting and the getting is in the giving. It's like cyclical, right? And there's something called the law of circulation, which basically says everything on our entire planet is always moving, always changing. And so we can be with that, or we can go against it. And so for me, I'm clear that the more that I give, the more I receive. And that doesn't always mean monetary, and it doesn't mean that I receive from the same person I gave to. So like I'm with cameras off, nobody around. You go talk to some of these homeless people around here. You talk to the people at all the cafes all around where I live. You talk to anybody who's encountered me. I'm the same way with everybody. Not because I'm trying to get something, but because I'm absolutely doing my best to be of service to these humans, and I'm curious about them. Like, I think that's the thing that sets me apart, is I'm really curious like a child. You know, kids just like, but why? And well, tell me about you. And like, I actually want to know. And so because of that, you know, people tend to like me and some people don't like me because of that, you know, because I'm also not a pushover.
And, you know,
so there's
that makes a lot. So you're not a pushover, definitely. and that brings me to mind, like, you know, we talked about God and everything, and that just brings me to mind a scripture that I remember when Jesus talked about, you know, about always being humble like little children. And,
yes.
You know, even when we're adults, and how that will lead to our spiritual growth and just our maturity as a whole. And my friend, you definitely embody that. So let's talk about for a second this wonderful book right here.
Yeah.
There you go, right there, man. I'm gonna tell you something. You take the best pictures, man. Your smile is like energetic to light up the room. So in this book right here, the 33 ways to amplify your life, love louder. What's the main focus of this book?
You know, I wrote that book because there's a particular way that I've learned to embody this work, and it's with this understanding of whatever we practice more of, we get more of. And in our fast-paced society, I find that it's a lot more difficult for people to read, you know, 80-page chapters and like just long drawn out stuff. So for me, what has worked for me is chunking things down and using one tool for 1 week. So I'll take one tool, right? Gratitude, right? It's not the happy people. It's not the happy people that are grateful.
Mm-hmm.
It's the grateful people that are happy, right? Absolutely. And so I'll practice gratitude, just one thing for a whole week. Just read that little baby chapter, like 5 pages, right? 6 pages. Read that chapter and then practice all the practical tips and tools in it for a week. And then I'll come back to the book and read the next chapter and do the same thing until it becomes an embodied practice. So I wrote that book with an understanding that when we amplify our love, we automatically amplify our lives. And so the two can't be separate. More love, more life. And so these are practical tools and tips for people to be with it. This book was not written for somebody who's looking for super high level, like intricate scientific stuff. This is for somebody like my mom or my cousins or me or somebody who's like, yo, just give me the essence of it, inspire me, and then give me some stuff to work with that I can actually use in my life. Not some like super esoteric stuff that is very hard to even grasp. Like, what does that mean? Sounds awesome, but how the hell do I do that in my life, right? For me, I wrote that book to make it easier for people to reach it and apply it into their lives.
I tell you, phenomenal, my friend. And before we let you go, I would be derelict in my duties if I didn't say, talk about just how your lovely wife, Alexi, how she empowers you and how she completes you. Because I have a wife myself, and she and I, we work together a lot too. And it's great when you have, your partner work with you and really down for you. Talk about what it's like to have that wonderful wife that you have.
Yeah, man, it's everything. Everything. Relationship is everything. We are social beings. We come into this world, into village, into tribe. And when we meet someone that had that extra thing, right? That thing.
Absolutely.
The humans, there's an extra thing where you're like, this is my person, right? When you meet that person, whether it be for, the dance be for 3 weeks, 3 months, or 30 years, whatever that is, when you honor that practice and really step in and get that they are here to teach you, Alexi holds the key to my biggest triggers. Like, she literally, her being her creates all of this internal conflict within me. And because she's being her, it creates space for me to grow. And I do the same for her. And then I say that we're like, conscious workout partners who get to have sex. Like, she's gorgeous and she's fun and she's my friend. Like, I actually would hang out with her even if she wasn't my wife. Like, she's, as you can see, we're very similar. She's just as fired up and passionate about this work as I am. So when I met her, we both were like, what? You exist? And like, it was this really awesome thing where it's like, I thought I was the only one. And she's like, so did I. And like, it's perfect. So yeah, that woman is my everything. She's my favorite person on the planet. I wake up next to her every day and kiss her 1,000 times and tickle her and tackle her and chase her around the house. We're very childlike in our relationship because everything's so serious the rest of the time. So we're very playful.
That's cool, man. That is really cool. So how can ones find out more information about you? We got your website up right here. So how can they find out more information about you?
Yes. Go to PrestonSmiles.com, or if you're on anything on social media, type in @PrestonSmiles and you'll find me.
Awesome. They can join the tribe. They can find out some great things about you. And Preston, it's been phenomenal to have you on because, like I said, I've been watching you, I've been following you, and I always said I would love to talk to Preston and just pick his brain about his mission and what he's doing and how he's inspiring people. And I'm telling you, my friend, you are hitting a home run out there. I wish you much success because, I even on some commercials, I say, that's Preston right there. I told my wife. So you remember him at the other station when he did that show? I said, oh, yeah, I remember him. So, you're phenomenal, my friend. And thank you so much. Would love to catch up with you again and see how everything is going. But keep up the great work, and we'll definitely talk to you soon.
Likewise. Appreciate you, Paul.
There we go. Got to give it up to my man, Preston Smiles. Make sure you go to his website, prestonsmiles.com. Google him, follow him. He is definitely, just, he's energetic when you talk. You kind of drawn to him. And I tell you, Preston is an incredible human being. He and his lovely wife, Alexi, definitely follow them. Their message is awesome, and I tell you, they are definitely onto something. In the world in which we live in today, it's nice to have people who have common sense. You know what I mean? All right. Well, that's the end of our show. Thank you so much for joining me on the Tech Zone. And don't forget, next week, we will be live at E3. So make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms, my website, PaulAmadeusLane.com. We'll be having some interviews from the floor, different press conferences, media events. We will be there giving you all the gaming news and technology news, so you don't want to miss that. Until next time, please turn someone's frown into a smile, leave someone in a better mood in which you receive them, and also, very important, love those who are unable to love themselves. Sean, get me off this crazy thing. Talk to you next time on the Tech Zone.